All right, let's get into our second big story. Ghanaians on December the 7th elected 72-year-old Nana Akufo as their new president, bringing an end to the reign of the incumbent president, John Dramani Mahama.
Akufo was declared winner of the election after clinching 55% of the votes, beating President Mahama with a 10% margin. President-elect Nana Akufo is the son of a former Ghanaian president and had lost the 2008 and 2012 presidential election.
The chairperson of the Ghana Electoral Commission formally addressed the media to announce the victory of the president-elect.
Mr. Ivor Kobina Greenstreet of the CPP had 25,395 votes, being 0.24%. Mrs. Nana Konedu Ajiman Rawlings of the NDP had 16,878 votes, being 0.16%. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC had 4,713,277 votes, being 44.40%. Dr. Papa Kwesi of the PPP had 105,682 votes, being 1%. Mr. Nana Akufo of the New Patriotic Party had 5,716,026 votes, being 53.85%. Mr. Edward Mahama of the PNC had 22,214 votes, being 0.21%. And Mr. Jacob Osei-Yeboah, an independent candidate, had 15,889 votes, being 0.15%. On the basis of the foregoing figures, and by the power vested in me as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and the returning officer for the presidential election, it is my duty and my privilege to declare Nana Akufo as the president-elect of the Republic of Ghana.
Okay. And that is where the jubilation starts. Usually, anywhere I declare you as a return.
Except, of course, in this case, before this announcement, there had been jubilation in the camp of the incumbent president and the president-elect, both of them claiming that they had won the election.
Exactly. But okay. this formally puts paid to it, and then everyone goes into yeah and so on. All right, we are joined now by our correspondent Ayodele Ozugbakun. He was in Ghana from the start to finish. Ayo, good morning.
Good morning.
Should we say Akwaba? That's how you say it, Akwaba. Welcome back.
Akwaba to our people.
Exactly. All right, Ayo, you were there from the beginning. First of all, let me start with the issue of the build-up to election. Now, you have also witnessed several elections in several African countries. Yeah. If we take Ghana, for instance, the build-up to election, what kind of language, what kind of activity really portrayed the way preparation for election in Ghana?
I want to start by saying in West Africa, we have almost the same thing with Ghana. Okay. You know, when you go to Togo, it's a francophone country. When you go to Benin, it's a francophone country. The only brothers that are very close to us is Ghana. So everything that happens in Nigeria must go to Ghana. They take a cue. It's like, you know, whatever happened. Nana Akufo came in and his message was change. His message was fighting corruption. He was a 73-year-old man, exactly in the shoes of President Muhammadu Buhari.
72?
Just
72.
72. In the shoes of President Muhammadu Buhari. And that was his third attempt. So similarity. Okay. So Nana ran against President Atta Mills, the predecessor to Mahama. He lost. I covered that election in 2008. We went 4 years ago. We covered the same Nana against John Mahama. Very narrow victory. John Mahama won.
Charlie went to court for that.
Yes. The Supreme Court, it took months and before the Supreme Court spoke and everything. But the issues that came before this election, it wasn't about infrastructure. It wasn't about growth. It was more of economic growth, and it was more of poverty, addressing poverty, and the IMF loan that was taken by Ghana.
Before we go into that, because I would like us to go into that much later on and see how daunting, if the task at all is daunting, if the promises at all will be delivered, because he's made quite a lot of promises in that area. But let's dig more into the political atmosphere. From what the umpire read out, Rawlings was there, the wife of former president of Ghana. Rawlings was part of this election, and she actually just pulled 0.6%. What does that tell you about women in politics in Africa and in Ghana particularly?
Busalami, Ghana is drifting towards a two-party state. It's the same thing happening in Nigeria. It was a race strictly between the MPP and NDC. It wasn't, you know, the 5 other political parties that participated in that election. You know, when you calculate all their votes together, everybody together is not 200,000. It's just to fulfill all righteousness. The race, especially, you know, it was a presidential and parliamentary election. And the upset came before the full result of the presidential election actually trickled in. We saw the upset when bigwigs of the NDC started losing their seats in the parliaments. And that went in, you know, enough way, substantially affected the outcome of the presidential election. We had the parliament that was dominated by the NDC. In their parliament, they choose it according to their constituency. You know, they run a unicameral legislation. Okay. That is one house. That is a unitary system of government. So they just have one parliament, and they have 275 constituencies, and they expect that they have representatives in 275 constituencies. And most of those listed, NDC was holding 176 before that election. Okay. That's a comfortable majority. Exactly. But immediately after when the results started coming, you know, all the big boys of NDC, somebody in the light of that can be equated to their deputy senate president and senate president, everybody falling across the line. And the determination that went into that election, it was like, look, this is a fight to finish. For Nana Akufo-Addo, it was like, this is my last time. The next time, if I want to contest in the next 4 years, I'm going to be 75, 76, which I might not be in the best position. And for Mahama John, it was unfortunate that his principal died. You know, that's why when I was talking about similarities, it was like a good luck Jonathan. He had to finish the race of Professor Atta Mills. Before he recontested in 2012, that represented his first term. This would have represented his second term. What did he do? Massive infrastructural development. When I say massive, when you enter Accra now, right now, Accra is just like Little London. Wow. We spent close to a week there, and you know, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of lights, the light did not blink. All right,
but if that's the case, where we have a picture painted in our minds of John Mahama doing all of that, then why did he lose the election?
Yes, we call that tyranny of the majority. That was what happened in Nigeria in 2015. Okay. So you see, that message of change spreads like wildfire. All right. Anywhere they are talking about change, whether it is a well-articulated change or not, but people just wanted change for the sake of change. Don't forget, these people want a breakaway from NDC's government,
which has ruled for 8 years.
Yes.
And that's been the antecedent of Ghana, really. No party rules for 3 consecutive terms.
Before we have Charlotte Osei as the Electoral Commission chairperson, we used to have one man they call Afari Gang. And Afari Gang supervised over election that you saw, and President John Akufo coming back. It was Rawlings, from Rawlings to Kufo, from Kufo went to Atta Mills. Okay. So this is the trajectory. But these people are saying that we know it tarred the road. We know it developed infrastructure massively. We know the man is trying, but we don't have money in our pockets. We don't have food to eat. We can't be dying of hunger. Why is developing Ghana? It's not servicing us.
Talking about
There's
similarity.
No stomach infrastructure.
Are you ringing the bell very close to home right now, talking about what is going on in the country
Definitely. Look, see, it's just that they've not gotten to where, they've not crossed that Rubicon where Nigeria has gotten to now. I was telling my colleague, that's Eunice, TVC correspondent in Ghana, I said, as you see this line now, Nigerian politicians will come there with money. who, irrespective of the people, the person you want to vote for before, they will actually convince you because you are looking for your daily bread. Somebody will come with 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira on election day. The police will look the other way. SSS will look the other way. The INEC official will look the other way, and they will distribute money at the polling unit brazenly. So it's strictly for the highest bidder.
All right, but in the case of Ghana, was this the case?
I told Eunice. Eunice said she's never heard of that. That it's not that bad. That nobody can come and give you money for who to vote for. That they want change and they want to vote for their leader, somebody they believe in. And they don't owe anybody that responsibility. It was a working day. On Wednesday, the election day, there was a movement. School children went to school. Some people voted before they went to work. And some people voted after they came from work. And I was going around the city of Accra. I didn't see one policeman to stop me. Our taxi driver was taking us.
So it was more like a festival.
I went to the market. There's a report I did. I went to Nimi Market. I went to that market and they were buying and selling. In the midst of buying and selling, we had polling station, polling units. You buy, you go into your polling unit, you vote. There wasn't anything like card reader problems. That was the situation in 2012.
So the soldiers were at the barracks, not on the streets.
At all.
All right.
It's not in the streets. People were celebrating. It was like the climax of a competition that was like festival. That it's an opportunity for us to speak with one voice. We want to choose our next president. So it's very alarming when you see Nigerians were preparing for election as if we are going for war. When I got back to Nigeria and Rivers State was in the spotlights, the last count, I can't count the number of people. A policeman was killed and the orderly was beheaded. And you call that election?
Anyway, let's get back to the issue of the Ghana election, because the people, in fact, the essence of governance is for the security of the people and the welfare of the people. Now, if in Ghana they could testify that President Mahama has done so much in infrastructure and all of that, and then they still want him changed, is it that, are we saying that Ghanaians are very difficult people to please when it comes to who should be their governor or who should be their ruler and president?
I think the message is, your ability to discern what your people want. Democracy, the concept of democracy is the kind of concept that when you say government of the people, by the people, and for the people, sometimes the people will want the wrong thing.
But as far as they want it,
that is democracy.
Give it to them.
That's the evil of democracy. It might not. That's why some people are saying that, look, we need to adopt our own homegrown democracy, autonomous democracy here. That's, that is not the way that is practiced in America, and we imbibe the principle hook, line, and center. I thought government was all about infrastructure development. Government was all about government delivering goods and living a better society. Mahama was projecting into the future. Those Greater Accra Medical Hospital, they just finished that hospital, and looking at the strength, looking at how the infrastructure and the number of people.
All right, Ayo, we'll come back to this. We'll certainly come back, because it's getting very interesting, I must say. It looks like I'm in Ghana already. All right, we'll go on a break now, and when we come back, we'll continue. But don't forget, at top of the hour, will be time for the news update, and Ndi Amugo will take us there. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast. All right, you're still watching TVC Breakfast, and we're discussing the Ghana election. And we have our correspondent in the studio who monitored the election from start to finish, Ayodele Ozugbakun. Now, there is something he said that resonated with me, and he just said something and said that sometimes the people can want the wrong thing, but since that is what they want, you give it to them because it's for the people in the first place.
All right. Okay.
What do you think, Busalam?
Well, I like to see it in another dimension, perhaps. Let's situate it based on the IMF loan and the infrastructure that you just talked about in Ghana. The light is there, the water is there, but what is spent? The money for this infrastructure, perhaps the capital development, came in from the IMF. And you know what it means to repay those loans, really. So maybe the wrong thing, or perhaps the right thing, with the wrong intention and motives.
All right, we'll come back for him to answer that question. It's time for the news update, and Ndi is standing by. Ndi, it's all yours now.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Mahama's speech. You need to read it. Wonderful speech he gave.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Thank you.
All right, time for news update. I'm Ndi Amogo. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has once again postponed the legislative rerun election in Akufo Toru local government due to violence. INEC says armed thugs invaded the polling center and that the vote will be concluded today. Results from Saturday's rerun elections have been released in just one senatorial district. The candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for Rivers Southeast Senatorial District, Magnus Abe, was declared winner, beating Olaka Nwogo of the PDP. Two female suicide bombers attacked the Monday market at about 8:45 a.m. That was on Sunday. The teenage girls targeted the ever-busy, crowded marketplace just as many people were opening their shops and some heading for their daily chores. They were halted by the vigilante civilian JTF and security operatives stationed at the market, and immediately they ignited their IEDs, killing themselves and one other person. 17 persons were injured in the attack, and one of the victims died from injuries sustained from the attack. The residents of Uyo in Akwa Ibom State have described the death of scores of persons from Saturday's church building collapse as one of the saddest events in the history of the state. The building at Reina's Bible International Church during the ordination of the leader of the church as bishop collapsed, killing many worshippers and injuring many others. The actual number of persons killed and those injured remains unknown, but the Akwa Ibom State Police Command says investigations are ongoing. Well, the police says 27 people died in that collapse, but the National Emergency Agency NEMA says that 6 persons died and 115 others sustained injuries, according to the agency's public relations officer, Sani Dante. NEMA conducted a 360-degree search at the scene with no casualty left behind. Dati also said that NEMA visited all the hospitals to see the health conditions of casualties, and it cordoned off the scene for search and rescue operation. That's all on the news update. Back to you, Mike and Busalami.
Thank you, Ndi, for the updates.
You're welcome.
Thanks for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. We're discussing Ghana elections on this segment. We have our correspondent with us in the studio, Ayodele Ozugbakun. He monitored the election from start to finish in Ghana. He just got back and we've been talking about this. Now, joining us on studio as well is an analyst, Marty Kofi Joseph. He's a Ghanaian here in Nigeria as well. Marty, it's good to have you join us.
It's my pleasure being here.
Now, when you heard that Nana Akufo-Addo had won the election, did you celebrate? What's in your mind?
It was anticipated. I've been here on 2 or 3 occasions.
Okay.
And if you can quote me right, the first day I was here, that was on Monday. I told them it's going to be a 2-horse race. And from the view of people I've met, I discovered that they wanted Nana Addo. This is the 3rd occasion he's contesting, and on 2 occasions he was very close to winning the election. So I said something on Wednesday when I was here. I said, if Nana Addo wins, it won't be a surprise. I think they have the tape here. If he wins, it won't be a surprise. But if Mahama wins, it will be a shock. But if Kwesi Indum wins, it will be an earthquake. So okay. I knew quite well, but my heart goes for Kwesi Indum. But definitely, I said it on this studio, he will never win. So I think it's time for Nana Addo to come on board.
Okay.
The coast was so clear that he will win. I was so sure of that.
Okay.
And I stated it clearly.
All right. The question earlier was for, this particular question was for Ayo, but since you are here, let's bring it to your own table, talking about the IMF loan and the infrastructure in Ghana right now. Of course, you know that most of those infrastructure were funded by the IMF loan. At whose expense, really? You have light, at whose expense? You have good road, at whose expense? And here comes Nana Addo promising to create industries in the 200 districts of the country. How will he fund that? Back to IMF loan. Don't forget, the loan has to be repaid.
You see, the same situation is happening in Nigeria. When you are in the system, you understand better. Like Trump, there are some certain things Trump said. He said Obamacare is the first thing he's going to remove. But the day he had a meeting with Obama, after he came out from the meeting, we discovered that the man have changed. So there's a kind of promises we give the masses when we are outside the box. But when we get inside the box, you find that it's the different ballgame. Now I have promised so many things. I don't think he can fulfill them all. To an extent, because the reality on ground is that when you enter the system, you discover that there are many reasons why these things cannot be achieved. And unfortunately, we don't have a system where you are being given 8 years tenure that you can, okay, let me, because if it's continuity, maybe I will say, okay, let's give him 8 years. But I don't see him realizing all those promises. I don't think so. I don't think so. With the state of the economy now, where are they going to get the funds from? Free education?
Free education, yeah.
They're not realistic.
To build industries.
Okay. Ayo, let me come to you on this. No. Now, I'd like us to focus on Nana Addo a little for now. What was his strong message that made it resonate with the people that much?
And you see, when you are making campaign promises in West Africa right now, at least I can talk about West Africa, I think it's all about telling people what is not realistic, telling people you can do what you cannot do. Exactly. APC came to government in Nigeria telling people that they are going to serve a meal, one free meal per day, 5,000 naira to indigenous people. You know, they made this. They said so many things in their campaign promises, and as a matter of fact, as I'm talking to you, almost 2 years down the line, APC did not redeem those pledges. So it's very easy to look at the government and you criticize the government from outside. That's what Nana Akufo Addo latched onto. He said, I am going to fight corruption. He was using President Buhari's name. He said, you can see the sanity President Buhari is instilling in Nigeria. That President Buhari, as old as he is, as an old man like me, you can see him jumping all over the world and going from the length and breadth of Nigeria and fighting corruption, dealing with people that have siphoned the money. And unfortunately for the government of President Mahama, there's this impression that he was, he was encouraging corruption.
There were lots of scandals.
Yes, a lot of scandal underneath and everything. And so the MPP people just latched into that.
Took advantage of it.
I'm going to fight corrupt elements in government. My government is going to be all about sanitizing the system. And when you tell people that, they are going to get quality education services, they are going to get industry, and you tell that is what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
That is what they want to hear, which is on ground, is not on ground. Let me tell you, one of the mistakes Mahama made was that electricity bill. You agree with me?
Yes, very quite
electricity
right.
bill, and Mahama increased the electricity bill some weeks to the election, and it contributed, you know. They asked him to reduce it. It did not review it. Water bill.
Yeah.
Water bill was increased because if he had not increased that electricity bill, the subsidy they were paying on electricity, they get their gas from Nigeria.
Exactly.
And it was almost impossible for them to sustain, you know, the constant power supply.
They were owing Nigeria quite a lot of money, really. Even
the
before
irony
the
of it is that they have 24 hours light. And to tell people that do you want to be like Nigeria, that they are going to buy generator and buy gas into their generator and pay. So it's a matter of communication. They didn't communicate that well. Is it not possible if they ask me to pay in Nigeria now, if they ask me to pay 25,000 naira a month to have 24 hours light,
you're going to do it.
That's a good deal.
Gladly, happily, I will go for that. But they weren't able to communicate that. That for you, we get this gas. We don't have this gas. We get it from Nigeria. And Nigeria has increased how much they sell to us, and we can't sustain this tariff. So it was just a matter of communicating this message and carrying it to the grassroots.
So there's no way Addo will come in and reduce it, except of course they want to put the people in darkness. Okay, so Marty,
the timing was wrong.
Okay, yes, Marty, John Mahama had said that his impact will, the only time will tell. The history will perhaps let the people know what he has done. Do you believe?
I don't think so. I don't think so because, you know, Mahama came on board. I was in Ghana then back in 2011 when late Professor Atamid died. And, I discovered that he was not really prepared for the presidency. He was not really prepared. So the people around him took advantage of that. And there are so many things he was not aware of, the environment, how the cabinet is being run, so they took advantage of him. So I don't see anything history is going to remind him of, but the only thing if history will remind him of, he lost the election and he conceded.
So what about this infrastructure? It's not a good thing?
Well, he has done more, but it's not unprecedented. What he has done so far is not unprecedented. It's not.
All right, Marty, what are you expecting from Akufo-Addo as a Ghanaian?
I'm expecting much.
Okay.
I think if he will succeed, he has to build his administration on 5 pinnacles.
All right.
Number 1, there must be a political paradigm shift. And he must deliberately inculcate that in his cabinet, meaning that you must do what you promised the electorate before they gave you the mandate. Because in that doing so, that's the only way you can earn the trust of the people and they will follow you. It's not time for you to be talking about the work, it's time to walk the talk. So that's the first principle, ethics they must inculcate into the administration. Second, fighting corruption will be a distraction to his administration. You know why? I want to stand on this. You cannot fight an existing template unless you create a superior template so that you render the old one obsolete. So if they want to move the nation Ghana forward, they must not fight the past. It's time to look forward. Where are the places we miss it and how can we forward?
Don't spend time in blaming the past.
Yes, so the past must be put behind.
Spend time in blaming them.
Okay.
No time for fighting the past, corruption, put that one aside and let's focus on the future. Third.
But he promised the people that, so if he don't do that, isn't really on his promise?
I'm telling categorically, these are the principles you have to follow. If you don't follow, you will fail. Third, he must bring on board technocrats. This is not the time for compensation of being loyal to the political parties. You are the people that make. No. It's time for you to bring technocrats on board.
And you must do that ASAP.
Yes. That means cut across all the political parties. PPP, CPP, all of them, they are best brains there. Bring all of them on board and sit them down and give them a blueprint. This is where we are going to. And everybody will contribute to it. So everybody's hands must be on the plough for them to get to the promised land.
One other thing that was imported to Ghana that is strange, talking about ethnic politics.
Okay.
Ethnic and religious politics.
Time is not on our side anymore right now, but I must thank you, Ayodele Ozugbakun, for joining us on the program. And Marty, thank you very much, and we wish you well, and Ghanaians well as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We'll go on a break, and when we come back, we'll be dwelling on corruption in Nigeria. Stay with us.